Hello, my name is Jacob Klerman. Today I want to share with you an orientation to the public use file, what we call the PUF, for the 2018 FMLA surveys. This is work that was done by Apt Associates under contract to the Department of Labor. The standard disclaimer applies. The views expressed here are only those of the authors and should not be attributed to the Department of Labor. All of the material I'm going to show you today and talk about, including this briefing, are available at the URL at the bottom of the screen. The 2018 FMLA surveys actually included two surveys. The first one was the employee survey. The sample size was 4,470, and domains covered included eligibility for and knowledge of the FMLA, leave taking, and unmet need for leave. The second survey was a worksite survey. It included 2,206 worksites. Domains included FMLA coverage, leave policies, and experiences implementing the FMLA. There are a variety of resources available to help you to use the public use file. They start with a set of resources that are narrowly focused on the PUF, the public use file. The first one are a set of documents that all begin family and medical leave in 2018, including the public use file documentation guide, the employee survey public use file codebook, and the worksite survey public use file codebook. And then, of course, there are files. There is sample code and corresponding output for SAS and for Stata, and there is survey data for the employee survey and for the worksite survey. And again, all this information is available on the DOL Chief Evaluation Office website. See the URL at the bottom of the screen. In addition to the files, there are a set of reports. There are a set of summary documents, an executive summary from the main report, 3 briefs, who is eligible, employee leave taking patterns and paid leave, and 2 presentations on the substance of the findings. And then there are a set of detailed documents. The first one is the main report results from the 2018 survey, which includes an appendix volume. The second is a methodology report for the 2018 surveys, also including an appendix volume. And then there are 2 short papers, which as of now are forthcoming, a comparison of leave taking experiences by gender and leave experience of low-wage workers. So with that, I'm going to turn to the code and the sample output. So the first example here is an example of how to use the employee survey in SAS. So the goal here is to compute frequencies of FMLA eligibility on the full sample. The outcome you would get from SAS is in the lower right. You can see that it gives the number and percentage of people who are not FMLA eligible, and the totals. In order to do this, you want to use the SAS command proc survey freak. These are not simple survey data. They're complicated weighting schemes for non-response. So you must use the survey commands both in SAS and in Stata. In this case, not freak, but survey freak. You want to insert your local library name in the angle brackets. Don't put in the angle brackets there. And then you want to use the file name, FMLA 2018 _employee _PUF, which should be common no matter where you're running. And then you want to include var method BRR, balanced replication. You want to use the weights, which are given here. That's the name of the weight variable. And the replication weights, there are 200 of them. And then the tables command will give you the variable that you want to create tables for, in this case, FMLA eligible. That was the example for the running analyses, the employee survey in SAS. The equivalent example for running analyses of the worksite survey in SAS are on this slide. So in this case, we run industry frequencies on the full sample. The variable is called Q4CAT, and in the lower right, you can see the distributions of manufacturing, retail, services, other, and total. And then in the upper left, you can find the corresponding commands. Again, you want to use the survey commands, in this case, proc survey freak. You want to include the local lib name. The file name will be common, FMLA _2018 worksite PUF. The var method is again BRR. The weight in this case is estab _weight. They're going to be 250 replication weights, and then tables with the variable name, which is Q4CAT. That was the example for the worksite survey in SAS. Now we're going to do the equivalent examples for Stata. So here is the example for the employee survey in Stata. Again, in the lower right, you can see the output that Stata would create. the fraction that are not FMLA eligible, the fraction that are FMLA eligible, and the total. So again, in Stata in the upper left, we have the commands. You want to be sure to use the survey commands. In Stata, that would be survey set, SVY set, a group of options. And then you want to run survey SVY colon tab, which is the frequency command. And again, the name of the variable, in this case, FMLA underscore eligible. That was analyzing the employee survey in Stata. Here is the equivalent example for analyzing the worksite survey in Stata. So again, in the lower right, we have the output, the fraction of people of work sites in manufacturing, retail services, and other, and the total. Again, we want to use the survey set command to set up the survey analysis with the appropriate options. You want the survey colon to make sure you're actually running the survey analyses, tab to run a frequency, and then Q4CAT is the name of the variable. So those are our 4 examples: employee survey, worksite survey, in SAS and in Stata. Now I want to give you a couple of pointers about analyzing these data. The first pointer is that there is considerable non-response in these data, and therefore you must use the weights and in fact also the appropriate survey commands. The second point is that the samples for these surveys are not small, but you still need to test. Even the pooled results are often much less precise than you would expect. And certainly when you slice and dice the data for subgroups, the samples get real small, real fast. As is always true, and even more so here, you must consider confidence intervals and test for differences across groups. Then the final analysis point is to remember, as is always true with cross-sectional surveys, that correlation does not imply causation. You can compare, for example, covered versus not covered by the FMLA, or paid leave state versus not paid leave state, but lots of other things vary, so you need to be real careful about inferring causation. We've now come to the end of our presentation. Here are the next steps that we advise that you use. First, print off the Family and Medical Leave in 2018 Public Use File Documentation Guide. Download the files and programs and the codebooks and reports. Run the test programs and check that the output matches so you can be sure you're doing everything right, and then run your own analyses. We're looking forward to seeing your results and what we're going to learn about the FMLA and leave taking in the United States. If you have more questions, you can contact Radha Roy, who is the project director at APT, or Kwang-Chi Chang, who is the project officer at the Chief Evaluation Office at the Department of Labor. Thank you very much.